your names, introduce yourself on the chat. Let us know where you're from, which part of the world you're joining us from. Quickly introduce yourself. My name is Aparna. I'm going to be your host for today, and I am streaming from Bangalore. Bryan, you said you're in the mountains. Where in the
That's
mountains?
yes. So I am actually right now in Colorado.
Oh,
I'm in
nice.
a little.
You're on a small holiday. Okay, I think we lost Bryan there for a brief while. That's okay. Given your introductions, guys, Navraj, Sandeep, Kavya, it's nice to have you. People on YouTube, let us know your names as well. Introduce yourself. Azhar, hi. Yogesh, hi. Bhagyanshi, nice to have you. Lola, okay. Tawheed, Aditya, nice to have you, Aditya. Christine, Ahmad, great to have you here. Great. Keep those introductions coming. While we do that, I'm just going to quickly set the agenda for today's session. Bryan, I think, just had a little bit of disturbance, so he'll be back very, very soon. But meanwhile, let me tell you what we're going to discuss. So you're going to understand how becoming CSM certified is going to set a really strong foundation for your agile career. A lot of you here may be looking to transitioning into agile roles, and you want to understand what the agile methodology really means, or what the Scrum methodology really is all about. And with your current set of responsibilities at work, how can you use or leverage CSM to set that strong foundation? How it's a starting point, sort of, right? And that's the agenda for today's session. Okay, so you may have a lot of questions to ask Bryan. Make sure you put them on the Q&A box. There's a separate Q&A box. There's a separate chat box as well. Chat box is where you're sending me these messages. The Q&A box involves you to just put in your question. Just wait in until we respond, or we'll take those questions, till at the end of the session. Okay, so do not worry if you don't really call out any specific question or mention your name. There's nothing to worry. Your questions will be addressed by Bryan, and people on YouTube. We're also looking at your questions on the live chat. So make sure you utilize the live chat effectively, ask a lot of questions, but remember, keep the questions relevant. Okay, right? Anything that you discuss, make sure you're only keeping the discussion relevant to what's going on in the session. And a question that a lot of you might have, because you registered for this session, you would need a proof of attendance for this webinar. You would get that. You'll get an option to submit your name towards the end, and we'll kind of do that at the end of the session. Okay, so make sure you stay till the end for submitting your name, and also stay till the end for a couple of free giveaways that we have. Right, and of course, this is not exactly limited to the course enrollment that I'm talking about, but also a few free resources that we want to share because you took the time out to attend this session. So to make sure you stay till the end, not just for the webinar certificate, but also the giveaways that I'm mentioning. Okay, right? Just to reiterate what we're going to discuss, let me see if Bryan has. Oh, yeah, Bryan needs to be. Yeah, yes. Yeah, so Bryan is back. But let me just set the agenda for the session today. We're going to understand what Scrum methodology is all about, how CSM adds value to the team, and of course, how getting certified in CSM sets a strong foundation. How the CSM certification opens you up to different sorts of roles, what these roles are, and of course, we'll take you through our training program as well. Okay, so like I said, utilize the Q&A box for any sort of questions that you have. Yeah, all right. Okay, Bryan is back. Bryan, I think you just had a minor glitch.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, we can hear you now.
Awesome. Awesome.
All right, great. So I was just setting the agenda for today's session. Brian, I'll just introduce you very, very shortly, and then we'll start over. We'll
Sure.
start again. Yeah.
Yeah.
But before that, let's just understand what brings the learners to the webinar today. I'm just going to launch a very quick poll here, and there are going to be a lot of these polls. Just try to, give the most relevant answer, whatever you feel is most relevant or appropriate. Uh, you're considering getting certified, you're curious about the career opportunities that CSM opens you up to, or you have no idea about Scrum and Agile methodologies, and that's why you're here. Your reason can be anything, just maybe choose the one that's closest to what you think. And how long is the session going to be? About 1 hour to 1 hour 15 minutes. People on YouTube, please use the live chat to answer this question. Okay, great. Great to see these introductions. Just give us your responses on the chat. Yeah. Okay. 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 I'm just going to end this poll right here and share the results with you, Brian. You'll
Okay.
be able to
Yeah.
see these results. Yeah. A lot of them want to
Look at that.
learn about Scrum and Agile. Very few of them want to get certified. A lot of them are curious about career opportunities first. So
Right.
maybe then, yeah, I think then they'd like to eventually get
Right.
certified, I
Get
guess.
that
Yeah.
certification. Right. Right.
Yeah. 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 All right, great. So quick introductions about us as well. So let me introduce Simplylearn to you. Simplylearn offers skills in various domains: Agile, Scrum, project management, AI, and machine learning. These are some of the domains that we cater to. But remember, all of our courses have Gen AI components included, including the PMP certifications, the certifications in Agile and Scrum as well, right? So we want to make sure you are Gen AI ready. And we've touched more than 8 million learners worldwide across people from 150 plus countries. We've got amazing trainers on board who take these live classes and ensure that you gain the necessary skills, right? We're also proud of introduce Brian to you. Brian has more than almost 3 decades of experience in agile project and program management. He's actually a certified PMI trainer. He's also a scaled agile framework practitioner. He's also a certified Scrum trainer. He's had a successful track record of transforming, leading a lot of project management offices. So he's actually the go-to person to anything agile, Scrum, and project management. So welcome again, Brian. Yeah, I'll let you
Yeah.
introduce yourself, and then I think we'll get rolling.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Great to be here. Excited to kind of spend some time on this particular topic. I think it's very relevant. A lot of organizations are investing quite a bit in developing and hiring CSMs, which stands for Certified Scrum Master. That was one of our Q&A questions already. So good
Mm.
job to whoever posted that in there. So yeah, very excited to talk about this. This is an area I spent a lot of time in. Many organizations are making that transition to more agile practices. We're going to learn a little bit about why, and then talk
Hmm.
about what a CSM does.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll start with what exactly is the Scrum methodology all about. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think really to kind of get a grounding on Scrum, we really need to back up a bit and talk about this idea of Agile. What is this Agile term that we hear a lot about? So Agile is a set of principles and values essentially that are focused on creating products. And one of the things it emphasizes is flexibility and collaboration and finding ways to continuously improve. So, Agile is sort of this broad framework that
Hmm.
practices like Scrum fit into. Now, originally, some of you might have come across Agile and associated it with software development. And that was sort of its early roots, if you will, back in 2000 when it was originally developed, the Agile Manifesto. But
Hmm.
quickly, organizations recognize, hey, this can be used in so many other areas than just technology and software development. So now I work with lots of organizations applying agile practices in marketing and human resources and
Mm,
operations and sales and really any part of a broader organization. So
right.
Agile's really gotten some good tractions and some deep roots as a result of that.
Got it. Got it. Um, so which means anybody who's working in, say, the other functions, like say finance or marketing or HR, would definitely find this methodology relevant to use, right? That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah,
Right, right.
exactly.
Uh, so how is Scrum different from Agile? Is it like a subset, or how is that like?
Yeah, right. And so think of Agile as sort of this, like I said, these values, these
Mm,
principles, and
mm,
then Scrum gives you a bit more of the practices. This is how you take those values and principles and apply them. And what makes Scrum particularly appealing for many organizations, it's very lightweight. So just to put it in a little bit of context, you mentioned earlier that I do a lot of project management certification courses. I do work with the Project Management Institute. Just to compare and contrast traditional project management practices, the PMBOK, the project management body of knowledge, which is sort of your reference document for the project management professional certification, is 1,000 pages long. It's very detailed, very comprehensive.
mm,
Scrum, on the other hand, is just 13 pages. So you can immediately get the sense that it's much lighter weight. And one of the
mm.
things that Scrum focuses on is essentially creating high performing teams that are
Right,
working on a product. They're working in these short iterative cycles called sprints. The whole idea is to deliver value to your customers and then get feedback from your customers so you can make changes and adapt based on what their priorities and their requirements are.
right. Got it. So is this also the Scrum life cycle, which is mentioned here, that you have a daily stand up and then a review and then a release? Is that how the Scrum life cycle also goes about?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So,
Mm,
Scrum has some terms that you'll get familiar with when you get
mm-hmm,
your certification, but the first is this idea of a backlog. Think of the
mm-hmm,
backlog as just all the work that needs to get done. And what
mm,
Scrum will encourage is say, hey, take the most important things in your backlog, the things that deliver the most value, and put them at the very top. And those are the things the team is going to pull and focus on and complete. And they do
mm,
that in these sprints. And a sprint is just a short time boxed period. So for a lot of organizations, they pick 2 weeks as their sprint duration. Although it doesn't have to
right.
be 2 weeks, but generally 2 weeks is sort of what is commonly leveraged in many organizations. And then
Mm,
every day you do a daily stand up where you basically check in with the team, ask how things are going, if there's any issues that need attention, preventing work from getting done. You do that every day throughout the sprint. At the end of the sprint, you finish with a review. And that's basically showing what you completed, and you show that to the people that want the work completed. So your customers, your stakeholders, and they give you feedback, and you can use that feedback to make adjustments in the next sprint. And then when you finish a sprint, you have this activity called a retrospective. And all a retrospective is really an opportunity to ask some questions on what can we do differently next time? What can we do to get better and improve our performance? And then
mm.
you release something into production because that's the point at which we unlock value, right? We only get value once we release something into production.
Right. Got it. Got it. So, you did mention that Scrum helps in improving the productivity or the efficiency of how a team works. So, you could also highlight what other benefits does Scrum have. Also, a little visual
Yeah.
that you added here.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So a couple things Scrum is centered on. The first is this idea of transparency. So the whole
Hmm.
idea is everyone's sort of aware of what's going on, who's doing what, why it's important. And it also looks at opportunities to get feedback because
Hmm.
feedback is that place where you learn whether or not this is something your customers really want, this is something they get value from. And then this idea of team accountability. So one of the things that makes Scrum a little bit different from maybe other more traditional delivery practices is it really emphasizes this idea of a team. So instead of individual contributors, it's how are we performing as a team, holding the team accountable. So the team
Hmm.
has a voice and saying, hey, we're going to get this work done in the next 2 weeks. We commit to that because we understand it. We've got the capacity, we've got the skills, But the flip side of that is you have to then hold yourself accountable to that. You're the one that
Yeah.
said you're going to get it done. So the team has to hold themselves accountable. So the
Hmm.
big focus is just making sure we're delivering valuable work. It's work that is important, that our customers want. We do it in small increments. And the whole intent there is it gives us an opportunity to kind of make adjustments. So we release something, get some feedback, maybe make some changes, and kind of repeat that cycle. And you can see the little illustration there. One way to think of Scrum, it's a lot like sailing a boat in sort of some stormy weather, right? If you think of the world we live in, it's constantly changing. It's very dynamic. You have to continually adjust and adapt. So the crew is there, adjusting the sails and steering the rudder,
Yeah.
responding to the conditions on the sea that they're in. So this is sort of the whole
Yeah.
idea, the team working together.
Right. And that's exactly why I think CSMs are needed to make sure that the sail is set right, they're able to
Yes,
adapt,
right.
change. That's exactly why CSMs are important. So maybe a quick question to the learners here as well. So have you guys already worked in a setup similar to this before? Let me just launch a very quick poll. Sorry, one sec. And people on YouTube, feel free to choose the right option. Let me just launch the poll here. Oh yeah, you can just answer this on the chat. It's taking time. Maybe a quick one, two, or three on the chat will help. Have you worked in a similar setup? Yes, no, not really, whatever. Okay, got it. Okay, a mixed sort of response. Yes, amazing, amazing. Some of you have, but you've not you've not used the methodology, you've not come across, you're not in the role as of now. All right, but you do now understand what value a CSM actually adds. So maybe Bryan, we could just reiterate that before we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So remember that term CSM is Certified Scrum Master.
Hmm.
So what does the role of a Scrum Master do? Well, the Scrum Master is really there to enable the team, to kind of
Hmm.
make the team great, find ways to kind of harness their skills and their capacity and make sure it's delivering the most value that's possible. So a
Hmm.
big part of what a Scrum Master does is look for any potential obstacles, anything that might be preventing the team from accomplishing their goals that they committed to. And if
Yeah.
those issues occur, they spring
Mhm.
into action and try and remove those impediments. So a big
Right.
part of this is you're going to be learning a lot of important leadership skills. And as you
Hmm.
can probably imagine, those are very transferable into your career.
Yeah.
Having strong leadership skills positions you for future opportunities. Um, Problem solving becomes a really important skill you'll develop as a CSM. And then, of course, communication. So you'll be communicating a lot to the team, to stakeholders, people that are interested in what the team is delivering.
Absolutely. So maybe if you can also explain it, I know we've, shown an example of how this works in a software or a tech setup, but maybe if you can just mention a use case outside of the tech functions or the software functions.
Sure, sure. And,
Hmm.
a real world example, you
Yeah.
might be working in a human resources, part of the
Hmm.
organization, and maybe
Hmm.
you're rolling out a new incentive compensation plan. Okay, something that's
Yeah.
going to give people some rewards for the work that they're doing. And so you're building out sort of what this plan is going to look like, and that's a deliverable that you've committed to in this upcoming sprint. And perhaps as you're working away, you have your daily stand up, and one of the team members who's responsible for maybe calculating what the benefits should be for this incentive compensation says, I'm having a difficult time getting someone from our finance department to respond to a question that I have so we can get this work completed in the sprint. So that's where the
Hmm.
Scrum Master would say, well, hold on. Let me see if we can find a way in which we can connect with that person, escalate this issue, get you the information that you need. So this is
Hmm.
where the daily stand-ups become very important because it's an opportunity to kind of share, hey, if you're not making progress, if you're stuck, and this is something we've committed to, we know it's very important, we want to mobilize rapidly and get that obstacle, that roadblock removed. So
Hmm.
this, happens. We run into things we don't expect, and
Yeah.
often team members are going to need a little support getting past those issues, and that's what the Scrum Master is going to be responsible for.
Yeah, absolutely. So, while I asked you that question, I also want the learners to, get this hint. So maybe whatever the learners think. So what do you think, which industry really, is seeing the maximum growth in terms of requirement of Scrum rules? Maybe learners here can just give in their answers. It your answer can be, in IT or let's say banking, finance, or healthcare, or
Mm,
whatever. Yeah,
right.
given your yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
One
lots of
person
good
has
answers.
lots of good
Hmm.
answers. Yes. But I think the answer is, every industry really requires, um, every industry, every role now requires a Scrum Master or, um, yes, yes,
Right, exactly. Yeah,
right.
it's a very portable, set of practices applied everywhere. Many organizations are just recognizing it's lightweight, it's accessible, it's team centered. So
Hmm.
almost every industry and every part of an organization can leverage these practices.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely. Great. Thank you so much. But now that it's actually all industries that require a CSM, require someone to be certified Scrum Master. And also, like Brian mentioned, these are all transferable and all the skills that you have, you don't have to really develop anything new. You just have to understand how the methodology works. So let's understand why getting certified as a Scrum Master sets a strong foundation for you and what it opens you up to, right? So, if you can also talk about how organizations today are adapting Agile, you did mention this. Maybe we could reiterate this before we talk about the career paths.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things to really kind of get comfortable with is that this isn't just a methodology, it's an
Hmm.
entire mindset. So
Hmm.
we're making a big shift, and you could probably appreciate organizations that have been established for many years. Changing your mindset can take some time, right? It's not something you can flip a switch and say, "Hey, we're agile now. Look at us. We're applying the values and principles." But the other thing to be aware of too is people often, you learn something, you apply that, and over time, you kind of grow your career. This can feel like a pretty significant shift in the way of thinking.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
Scrum Masters are very valuable in organizations because they help with that mindset shift. And this is
Yes.
why CSMs in particular
Yeah.
provide a tremendous amount
Absolutely.
of value because they're
Absolutely.
going to provide that guidance. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had this question the last time, if you remember, Brian. So,
Mhm.
I'm not the manager, I mean, being a Scrum Master, I'm not the manager to the team, or I'm not really their leader. So, how does
Mhm.
one strike that balance? So, basically, the first point that says, you're not a boss, but you're actually a guide. So, how does one ensure that balance, in a real time situation, or how do you do that?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, a couple techniques that tend to be pretty effective in this setting. The first is you're exactly right. There's no hierarchy here. The team
Mm,
doesn't report to the Scrum Master or the product owner or any of the other roles. The whole intent idea is, in fact, you remove those layers that organizations often have, and instead you find ways to enable the team so they're working together to solve problems and deliver value. So as a Scrum Master, you're really acting as more of a coach, a guide, like you said, someone who's available to the team, that has a high degree of integrity. The team can trust this person. That this person has a good foundation of these agile principles and these values and these practices, so they can
mm,
come to them to get advice. And really, the whole idea here is meeting people where they are, helping them understand the benefit, the reason this is a set of techniques that we want to apply,
yeah.
and then help them grow and sort of
Mm,
learn as they apply these techniques and skills,
mm,
and just help reinforce these agile practices and behaviors. So
mm.
you're exactly right. This isn't about being their manager, their boss, but this is about working with them side by side, helping them focus on delivering outcomes.
Absolutely. Right, right. So now that we've spoken about how CSMs are really important, we've understood, what Scrum methodology is all about, which industries, we've understood all industries really require it. Maybe let's talk about, the growth paths and what opportunities that, the CSM certification opens someone up to. So we did highlight that, a lot of industries require CSMs, a lot of industries are adopting Agile, and that's
Mhm.
obviously creating a lot of job opportunities for Scrum Master. So, if you can just highlight the career growth trajectory for someone who is CSM certified. Of course, you are, a Scrum and Agile coach as well. So, what could one do to reach where you are today?
Right. Yeah, of course. And
Yeah.
the interesting thing about being a CSM is it opens up lots of different career paths for you.
Mm.
One of the first, of course, is that as a Scrum Master,
Hmm.
you can broaden your skills into become.
I think we lost Brian there for a minute. I think he'll be back. It's okay. I'll just wait for a couple of seconds. Maybe meanwhile, what you guys can do is, I'm just going to give in a very quick roadmap. Same, very similar to what Brian is mentioning, but this roadmap is slightly different. We're talking about how you can become CSM certified, what your roadmap should be. This is just a very short tutorial sort of. So I'm just sending the link over on the chat. Okay. And meanwhile, people who got questions, you can kind of post your questions on the Q&A box. Okay. And make sure you have this article and tutorial downloaded, ready with you. It just has a small visual which explains the roadmap to becoming CSM certified. Okay. The eligibility criteria, who should your training partner be? What do you do if you fail? What's your retake like? What do you do if you pass? All of that is there on this article. Okay. So if you are able to see the link and if you have kind of understood how to access this, just give me a thumbs up on the chat. Okay. And people on YouTube are wondering, oh, okay, what link am I really sharing? This is actually a CSM certification roadmap that's available on Simplylearn's website. You can just search CSM roadmap Simplylearn and you will find this resource. Unfortunately, I will not be able to paste that on the chat. Okay, great. People who have got questions, make sure you do it on the Q&A box. But I've just shared a resource. Let me show you how it looks like. If you're wondering, okay, what is it that I've shared? This contains everything about how you can become certified Scrum Master. Okay, what it is all about, what does it really require you to do? Yes, you can. I think it's an image, so you should be able to do it. But I suggest you bookmark the link in case you do want to refer to it later. Yeah, so let me just explain what this roadmap contains. We talk about the eligibility, what are your steps? Okay, of course, there is a mandatory 2-day training program that you have to attend, and then you have to take your exam within the first 60 days. If you fail, then you do the retest. There are high chances that you'll pass in the first attempt. But then if you pass, all you have to do is to complete your evaluation, make sure you submit, you get the certification and upload. I mean, take a printout of your certificate, sign the license agreement, and complete your whole Scrum Alliance membership profile, and then you become a member of Scrum Alliance for 2 years. Okay, so that's about it. So how do you renew your certification? You just click on renew certifications, pay $100 extra, and then renew it for the next 2 years. Okay, all of these steps are also actually mentioned in the text format. So someone who wants to read, take a screenshot, whatever, and come back to it later can also do it. Yeah. The others, if you can just give me a quick yes. Are you now clear about how you can become a certified Scrum Master? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Uh, Ashutosh, I will clarify this with Brian, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think you need to take the exam again because you already have the Scrum Alliance membership. All you have to do is to renew it. right? But even if you do have to take the exam, remember it's a very short exam. I don't think you need to do the whole thing again because you've taken the training and that's when you become eligible for the exam, right? So I don't think, but let Bryan rejoin. I might actually want to confirm that. Uh, Yes. So let me just kind of reiterate what Bryan mentioned. So you could take up role of becoming a Scrum coach, also an Agile coach, like what Bryan is, and and then eventually become a project manager. So some roles that it opens you up to, you once you become a Scrum Master, you're facilitating, you're removing blockers in the team's activities. You're ensuring that your team is aligned. That's what is the first step after becoming CSM certified. Then you can choose to be, I mean, it's not the logical next step, but of course, if you're interested in managing the product backlog, product features, you want to make sure that you're aligning yourself towards a more product driven approach, then, becoming a CSPO, which is Certified Scrum Product Owner, is the next step. And of course, you could, take on leadership roles and become an agile coach as well, who actually trains, mentors agile teams and drives agile transformation at the org level itself, right? So these are just rough salary numbers. Of course, these may change based on what your experience is, what your current experience is, and what kind of experience you carry, whether it's relevant, how much value you can add, the organization you're getting into. Of course, depends on the region you are in. So these are just rough estimates that we've got. Yes. And some other career paths as well, which I will actually let Bryan reiterate. You can also take up the role of agile project management, project manager, also an agility consultant. This release train engineer is actually a role that's coming up. It's actually an upcoming role and it's also a trending role. So you can coordinate and kind of align different agile teams in the scaled agile framework. So this is more for organizations that operate at scale. Okay. It is obviously better. It is obviously simpler to become a Scrum Master because that's the first step. Like I said, it literally requires you to complete the training. I mean, it requires you to complete the training, but the training itself lasts for only 2 days. So you can actually pass your exam, on the day you complete your training. Unlike say a project management certification like the PMP, right? So it's a much longer exam. You would require much longer time to prepare. Also, the PMBOK, which is the project management body of knowledge, is actually a lengthier version compared to what the CSM study guide is, right? So Stella, yes, you would receive a recording for this webinar, but do make sure you stay till the end. You gain the best from joining and learning from the session live, right? So you will receive a recording, but nevertheless, try and stay till the end. Okay. Yes, Chumanta, we are going to talk about that, including training and the exam fee. We'll let you know how much the course fee is in a while. I'm just trying to see if Bryan has joined once again. Okay. Yep. So there's a concept called backstage, and I keep forgetting that I have to actually bring Bryan back to the main session.
It's it's funny. Yeah, I was sort of sitting there waiting, like, oh, what am I doing
Yeah,
without
I know,
him?
I know, I know. I realized that much later while I was, answering a question. Anyway, Bryan, if you can just take them through the career paths that one can follow. We did talk about Scrum Master, but maybe what their growth path is like.
Yeah, no, I did hear that. I think you kind of hit all the right notes in terms of career progression. So a couple questions that I saw folks ask. Yes, the Scrum Masters, it's a very accessible certification. It doesn't have any prerequisites that are required. Just as a partner was sharing, it's something you can complete pretty much in 2 days. The exam isn't as demanding as you might expect to see on the project management certification. So it's a good entry point, very accessible. Once you get your Scrum Master certification, it does open up these other paths. Product owner is a natural kind of progression as a Scrum Master because you're going to be working closely with a team supporting a product. So you'll develop a lot of familiarity and knowledge of the product owner responsibilities. So many
Yep.
Scrum Masters make that shift. In
Mm,
addition, you might find that you develop a real passion for this and you become more of an agile coach where you're supporting many teams. So you're
mm,
helping them with their techniques and practices and explaining the intent and purpose and value of using some of these agile practices. So that might be another path. And then you highlighted a few others that which I think are also kind of interesting.
yeah.
The
The,
release train engineer.
mm,
Yeah, an RTE. And that's sort
mm,
of a Scrum Master of Scrum Masters. And
mm,
that's particularly associated with the scaled Agile framework. So when you're scaling Agile into larger organizations, that might be something you find interesting and another path you can follow. Agile Project Manager is sort of a blend between Agile and more traditional project management. Agility consultants, so working with different parts of the organization, helping them organize and focus on some of these agile practices and QA. QA is a really interesting area in the agile domain
mm-hmm.
because it does require a different um, way in which we approach testing and automating testing. So lots of opportunities there. So hopefully people are getting a sense that it's a great entry point. There's a lot of demand for it, and there's lots of progression that you can follow to kind of strengthen your career and find new opportunities.
Right. Got it. Got it. All right. So we had a question there. I'm not sure if they were asking me about becoming a product manager or a project manager. So they mentioned PM. But is it
Hmm.
really easier to become a Scrum Master than becoming a project manager first? Is it
Well, I
easier
think
by
yeah, I think you kind of highlighted,
yeah.
the fact that, it's a shorter duration course. It's only 2 days. If you get a
Hmm.
project manager course, that's typically 4 days.
Hmm.
As you also point out, the PMBOK is quite large. It's 1,000 pages. The Scrum
Hmm.
Guide, 13 pages. The PMP does require certain prerequisites, right? We've done these courses where we share that, okay, well, you need a college degree, you need 36 months of experience, whereas the CSM doesn't require any of that. So, um, I'm always a little careful using the word it's easier, but I could certainly
Yeah.
say it's more accessible. I think for
Yeah.
more people, this will be a certification that they can all pursue.
And one question that we have on the chat is, so how does one really eventually become or land a job of a Scrum Master? Which is actually, that's there are a lot of things that are associated with that. It's how you do interviews, how you apply, all of that. But
Right.
what should one's strategy be? Like, what should they start doing after they're CSM certified?
Yeah, so a couple things you could consider. Now, first off, of course, you can search Dice and LinkedIn and the job boards for Scrum Master roles. There are lots of them out there. Many organizations are actively recruiting for Scrum Masters. But often a challenge people face is, hey, I got my CSM, but I don't have any experience as a Scrum Master. So what do I do now? So things you can consider. One is you can take what you learned in the CSM and you can start applying these techniques, even if you're not, really formally titled a Scrum Master, but you can say to the team you're working with, hey, why don't we do a daily stand up? Why don't we start working in sprints? Why don't we do a review with our stakeholders and get feedback? So those are the practices that a Scrum Master would be focusing on. And you can kind of start developing and strengthening those skills and then use that to say, hey, I do have actual experience doing this. So my guidance would be take the certification and then apply those ideas and techniques and then start strengthening those skills. And within 6 months, you'll be a pretty competent Scrum Master.
Hmm. Hmm. Got it. Got it. Got it. All right, understood. So I think we've just tried to highlight the roles that someone can take up. I've got another question. Obviously, Scrum Master is not essentially a project manager, but is he or she a process controller? But I know they're not agile coach, but are they a process controller?
Yes, yes. I mean, there's a lot of emphasis on the process. And to give you a little flavor of that, the Scrum Master has to be very familiar with the Scrum process, the practices. So, for example, sometimes people will say, "Gosh, do we have to meet every day to do our daily stand up?" That just feels, maybe like we're meeting unnecessarily. And a good Scrum Master say, "Well, let's explain why that's important. We want to be able to identify if there's an issue as quickly as we can, because the longer that blocker prevents us from getting work done, the less work we can get completed. So it's important for us to meet for 15 minutes every day to check in." So you are a little bit of a process guardian when you're a Scrum Master, but you also want to explain the reason behind the process to your team.
Right. Got it. Understood. Okay, I think we've now covered all bases. Let me just also quickly ask you about how this curriculum is structured. So how Simplylearn's training is structured and how it helps someone um, you know clearing the test, understanding all the basics of the methodology. How does it prepare one for the test? If you can just highlight
Yeah,
how it's structured.
yeah. So, Simplylearn's developed a very sort of thorough and comprehensive approach to help people complete the certification, but also to really understand the concepts behind these ideas. So the first is understand the Agile manifesto. And you might have heard me mention there's these values and principles. Well, that's what the manifesto represents. So that's the foundation of all Agile practices, including Scrum. So once you're comfortable with that, then we pivot over and we start talking about what is Scrum, what are some of these pillars that Scrum is based on, things like that, transparency and feedback that we mentioned previously. Then we'll look at what is a Scrum team. Let's talk about the product backlog and how that's organized and structured. We'll look at these Scrum events, meetings that you perform as part of a Scrum team, and we'll look at the Scrum artifacts. That's things like the product backlog, the sprint backlog, measurements that we'll use to track progress. And then there's a little bit of room at the end of the course to cover other topics, things like how do we scale this? What happens if you've got multiple teams that are
Yeah.
working together? How do we keep them aligned and coordinated? How do you work with maybe third-party vendors and other organizations that work with your company and keep them aligned with some of these agile practices? So the whole idea is here you leave the session, and one of the things I find most practical about the CSM certification is you will leave with techniques you can apply the very next day.
Yeah.
And I think that's really impactful because you immediately get value from applying these getting the certification.
Absolutely. And not just that, along with these live classes that you have on all of these topics, you've got self-paced learning material as well, and a bunch of free courses on lean management, on digital marketing, and a lot of
Mm,
other different courses that you find, on the course page. So we'll share the link to the course page right away so that you can take a look at that on the chat. And remember, if you guys have questions for Bryan, please put them on the
yeah,
uh,
Q&A.
on the Q&A box. That's how, yeah. Sorry, guys, we're just browsing through, I mean, just shifting
Mm.
to window, and that's why I'm taking the time to share this
Hmm.
link. Bryan, am I audible or
I think
what's
when you adjusted one of your earphones, it might have affected the audio, but I can hear you pretty
okay? I
clearly.
think maybe I speak a little louder, but I think
There we
I
go.
should be, yeah, I think I should be okay now. Okay, great. So what I've done is I've actually shared the link to the course page here, but let me also show you the certificate that you receive after you complete the training. This is how it looks, and you receive the certificate from Scrum Alliance. Of course, that happens after you finish your training, finish your exam, and you upload this certificate and receive your membership, like the roadmap I showed you, right? And obviously, this kind of opens you up to various Agile and Scrum roles that you were looking for. Okay. And some success stories, of course, on how people actually used our CSM certification training. We are thinking actually about getting some of these alumni, for our next webinars. Maybe we're lucky there. Let's see if we have someone who can actually compliment Bryan and then, have a conversation. Let's see if we can bring someone there. But yeah, do check out these success stories. There are also some videos of some very interesting career transitions from people working in the tech and eventually taking on Scrum Master roles. You should definitely check these stories out. So how do you enroll? The process is very, very simple. I'm going to launch a very quick poll here on Zoom, and you click a yes, and then a learning advisor is already available in a breakout room. You ask your questions to her, and then you choose an upcoming cohort, and then you start learning. Okay. So I'm not yet launched the post. Just hang on, while I do that. I'm just going to help you understand the enrollment fee and the course cohort start days. So, like Bryan mentioned, the course can be completed over a weekend. So the course, the next cohort is actually on the 5th and the 6th. It's an 8-hour, you have got 2 8-hour sessions or batches, and timings are these. You kind of finish, if you're in India, and your timings are 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And of course, if you're in the central time, and 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Those are your timings. But if you're looking to understand what your course fee is, remember the course fee is at a discounted price of 16,500 Indian rupees or $299 US dollars, right? You get an extra, I think, yeah, extra 5% off. I may be wrong here. You get an extra discount if you apply Happy 5 until the 4th of July. Okay. Just okay, that rhymed. Actually, I just realized it rhymed. Anyway, so if you're looking to enroll and become a part of the next cohort, make sure you select a yes on the poll that I'm about to launch. And once you've selected a yes, and if you live in the US, okay, we've got Farheen who will answer any questions related to your enrollment, but only if you are in the US. What I'm going to do is to launch a breakout room. Farheen will already be waiting there for answering your questions. So make sure you click on join. I'm just sending you guys a message that says join the breakout room. Okay, so please make sure you join that. It's called Learning Advisor US, and that's only if you live in the US. Okay, if you live in India and you're wondering, okay, how do I talk to a learning advisor? Remember, if you've selected a yes, someone will actually reach out to you tomorrow morning. I will explain the same thing that Farheen does in the breakout session here. Okay, and with this, let's just proceed to questions. Let's see if we've got questions for Bryan. We're already typing the questions. Bryan, we had this question about CAPM. Should someone consider doing CAPM instead of a Scrum Master? Again, the question remains: is one more beneficial over the other? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. So it really depends on the path that you want to take. So the CAPM, which is the certified or gosh, no, associate in project management, certified
Yes.
associate in project management. So sort of think of that as the PMP, but if you don't have the necessary experience to get the full PMP, so you're going to still learn about the PMI processes and go through the PMBOK and all that. That's for people that are a bit more interested in more traditional project management. And he might work in a large organization that puts a lot of emphasis on, more traditional project management practices. They've got stage gates, they've got, detailed requirements, they've got architect reviews, all those things. Then that might be a very good fit for you. Or you could take the Certified Scrum Master, and that'll probably be a stronger fit for someone interested in more agile practices, working at maybe the team level, enabling high performing teams. So it's really a question of which path you want to take. Both are excellent certifications. I will say the CAPM, probably a little heavier lift, a little bit more studying required. Formulas you're going to have to learn, things like that. Whereas the CSM, as we already mentioned, very accessible. You could sign up today, take it this weekend, and be a CSM at the start of next week.
Right. So question again, a follow-up question for you. Are both beneficial then? What if someone wants to do them together?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think they're both excellent, and they're going to really demonstrate to your current employer or prospective employers that you have a wide range of skills and knowledge to draw upon. You're investing in yourself. So by all means, certainly pursue both. I have both. I have my PMP and my CSM. So yeah, I would really encourage people, if you've got that, the time and the interest, then definitely pursue both.
Got it. All right. And another very interesting question that we have, we also did a few webinars in the past. So which one is again better? Is PSM one or CSM? I mean, what are the differences really? I know both actually are probably, different versions.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
gets a little bit confusing
Mm.
because there's lots of different organizations that provide certifications.
Mhm.
So the CSM is by far and away the most recognized of the Agile certifications. It's very globally recognized. It's been, probably the longest established Agile certification. Now there are other ones out there. You can
Mm.
be a PSM, a professional Scrum Master, and that's a certification offered by the scrum.org. Very good. It's excellent. But it's got a different way in which they just sort of approach the certification. So you'd have to do a little bit of legwork, figure out which one is probably the best fit for you. The CSM is really I think very beneficial because it brings people in as part of a cohort. So you're learning with a group of people. The
Mm.
PSM you can do independently, but then you lose the benefits of sort of, networking and hearing other people's questions and learning about, what they're dealing with in their organizations or industries. So there are different ones you can consider, but I think there's no doubt about it. The CSM is by far and away the most prevalent.
Okay, got it, got it. So Brian, I'm assuming a similar exam would be, would be applicable to the CSPO as well if someone wants to become a Scrum product owner. And if you can also explain the
Right.
retake for that particular certification as well.
Right. So if you aren't in pursuing a product owner, it's a very similar, format. Take a class, you get the training, you take an exam. So it's got a, very similar structure to the CSM, but it's going to put more emphasis on being a product owner. So
Mm.
how do you capture requirements from your stakeholders? Who are your stakeholders? How do you determine the value of the work in your backlog to make sure the most important things are prioritized at the top of the backlog? So you'll be learning some different techniques there. A lot of times the CSM, if you do not have the CSM, is a better place to start with because it
Mm.
teaches you about these agile practices, the whole Scrum framework, and then typically you move on to get your product owner certification.
Right, absolutely. Azhar, I think we're about to end in the next 10 minutes. We're actually taking questions. If you do have any more questions, please make sure you put them on the Q&A box. By the way, I don't think CSM is going to give you a guarantee sort of a thing with, getting you a job. How you apply is what Brian mentioned a while back. Job portals, a great way to start and talk about what your experience has been and what you want to do, with the CSM certification when you apply, right? Um, okay, someone asked me about the project management uh, course or the eligibility for PMP. So maybe if you can frame that question once again, so I can pass it on to Brian. But by the way, I hope I answered your question. CSM, is it beneficial for someone coming from Ethiopia, has experience in project management, operations, finance management, and rural development? Is it useful to get or work in the US? Does someone
Oh,
need to have an IT background? Okay. Um,
yeah, I mean, the simple answers are you don't need an IT background, but it absolutely will aid you if you're, interested in coming to the US, and possibly, Europe or other countries like that. Um, Most organizations, certainly in the US, are really emphasizing putting a lot of focus on Agile. So having a CSM, I think, is going to strengthen any of your job applications. So I would really encourage you to give it some thought.
Got it. All right. And okay, Azhar, see, the thing is when questions come in, you don't finish your question, you leave a sentence. I don't know which question you posted earlier. It will actually help if you asked, post your original question as well as to what you missed, because I have no idea what I answered. Uh,
Hard to say. Yeah.
yeah. Someone asked me about, I think, project management experience, but I'm not really sure of what the question was. Actually, this question, because it was complete.
Right.
Anyway, we'll wait for the question to come in. There are also people, going to the breakout rooms. If you're someone who's interested to enroll and you live in the US, please reach out to Farheen. She's available in the breakout room to take your questions. Otherwise, Bryan is here for the next 2 to 3 minutes. Please make sure you put in your questions on the Q&A box, and you'll get your questions answered. It was a great session, Bryan, today. Despite all the disturbances and me forgetting you in the backstage, it was a great session. What are your thoughts, closing thoughts for learners here?
Yeah, a few things. I think that if you spent this hour listening to the CSM and its value and benefits, I would really encourage you to maintain the momentum. Take that next step, get that certification. It is going to be something you can keep with you for the rest of your career. You'll be able to apply these techniques. Organizations are making this shift to more and more agile practices. We didn't talk a lot about it, but I wouldn't be surprised if people were asking, how will AI affect this? And we've had this conversation before, Aparna.
Yeah.
This is a good way to kind of protect yourself from the impact of AI, because this is all about connecting with people, creating high performing teams. And that's not something AI is going to be very good at doing. So this is a great opportunity for people to want to invest in themselves, invest in their career, and protect themselves a little bit with some of the industry disruptions that we're already seeing from AI.
Right, got it. So this very interesting question about someone having project management experience in agile environment. Now, what if that person wants to take on a Scrum Master role? So is that a good fit for someone to transition? What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. So yes, 8 years of experience, software development, project management. If you don't have the CSM, I think a couple things. One is, I'm guessing from the fact that you're in software development and project management and Agile, you're already exposed to a lot of these ideas. So this will just sort of probably not be a challenging certification, but it will be something you can put on your resume, put in your LinkedIn profile, that recruiters are going to be looking for, that your own company is going to be looking for. So I would really encourage you to make that investment. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So one question, while you were there in the backstage, which came in from a learner, is when someone renews, the CSM certification. So does one have to take the exam once again, or is it just the renewal fee that they pay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to retake the exam.
Mhm.
You just renew your certificate every 2 years, and you do that by taking some courses and things like that to demonstrate you're constantly learning and investing in yourself. But you do not need to take the exam again.
Right. Got it. All right. Great. Thanks, Bryan, for your time. It was great hosting you and
Yeah,
listening to you
thank
answer.
you so much. It was great to be part of this, and love
Yes.
all the questions. Well, good luck, everyone. And yeah, looking forward to connecting again next month, Aparna.
Yeah.
And
Same here.
we'll chat with you all later. And if you're in the US, have a great 4th of July.
Yes, absolutely. If you're in the US, great 4th of July. Happy 4th of July to you as well. Bryan, have a great time.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll see you all later. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. Bye. The learners can stay back. Yogesh, you don't have to complete any PDU. This is not the PMP certification. You just have to pay the renewal fee and then you're done with renewal. If I've done cybersecurity, networking fundamentals, and data communication, is this program going to help me? It depends on what kind of roles you want to take up next. If you want to become a Scrum Master, then yes, definitely consider taking up this course. What would you advise a person on how they can jumpstart a career in project management? Um, I think you probably would need to start off with the PMP certification if you want to start off in project management. But let's say you're more keen on the agile roles, then CSM is a good start. Let's see what are CSM PDUs. Firstly, they're not PDUs, they're Scrum Education Units, r.khan, right? So you can kind of find this detail on the Scrum Alliance website. Remember, for the renewal, all you have to do is to pay the fee, which is $100. I don't think you need PDUs like what you need for the PMP test. Okay. And you can actually refer the roadmap that I shared that also mentions the exact same thing. And okay, I think we're also nearly done taking enrollment. So I'm just going to close down this poll. It was actually great bringing this session. It was very, very interactive. You guys showed a lot of interest, in learning. You definitely showed interest in understanding what the basics are. And of course, you took a lot of interest in asking questions about what you can do next, how you can grow, whether this makes sense to you, which is actually great. Shows that intent, that you want to grow and explore new career pathways, which is actually very, very good. So make sure you kind of do your own research, try to understand what this opens you up to, what kind of career path you can take up. Just try to understand that, introspect a bit, and then of course consider enrolling in the CSM certification training, right? Because once you've enrolled, you can actually literally take the exam after your training is done and get CSM certified, and that's it. You don't have to do anything else. Okay. And someone asked me how these classes are going to happen. These classes actually happen on the Scrum Alliance portal. They do not happen on the Simplylearn portal, which is why even the certificate that I showed you, remember the certificate that I showed you here? It is actually offered by Scrum Alliance because this course is offered in partnership. Scrum Alliance is the certification provider. Okay, right? So that's about the course and also the enrollment steps. I hope your questions were answered as well. Now, the big question that a lot of you learners have is, are you getting the certificate? Yes, you are going to get the certificate, but for that, what you have to do is to enter your name in the poll that I'm about to launch. Okay, so people on YouTube, if you're interested in enrolling on the course, please make sure you head to the video description. Okay, and I'm just going to launch a certificate poll that asks you your name. Please make sure you enter that. Okay, sorry. 1 sec. I think I launched the wrong poll. Yeah, here you go. Please make sure you enter only your full name in the poll that I've just launched. Okay. Yeah, they're close to 70 of you right now in the session. Just make sure all of you enter your full name and nothing else. Okay. All right, which is great. More than half of you have finished. After training, you can do that immediately, actually. Like I said, what's the duration for the same program? Two days. That's the duration. 2 8-hour sessions. Okay. Wherever you can actually check out his LinkedIn profile, Bryan Campbell. You'll be able to get that answer. What was Happy 5 was the coupon code. Happy 5. I'm just typing that for you. Yogesh, I don't know. I mean, it's probably just a couple of days that you have to attend this. So I suggest you finish the training, take your certification, and then you're actually done, right? Is Bryan available as a coach? So Bryan, I don't think is available as a coach right now, because of his, time issues, timing. Basically, he won't be able to. He's also got other commitments because of which he's not available as a coach. But there are equally good coaches, and if you're interested in knowing who your coach is, I think the learning advisor is the right person because we kind of have these cohorts every weekend, right? Depends on which coach is available, on on the days that we have these cohorts, the timings, everything have to match. So yeah, there is no placement support that we offer. We'll help you understand what roles you can take up, and that's about it. I'm not sure. I think it's a 2-hour test. I'm really not sure because maybe what you could do is you can use this study guide for understanding everything about the CSM. Let me share that with you. This is how you can master the CSM test in 48 hours. Just a minute. I'm just sharing that on the chat, you guys. Okay. You can actually check that. Okay, guys, please, if you post the question on the chat box, I might miss out. That's why I always encourage you to post it on the Q&A box. Simplylearn always conducts webinars. Future, $100 is the fee. Yes. Exam structure, everything is available on the chat. Please take a look. Yes, it does include the exam fee as well. Shumanta. Vishwanath, I have shared the exam guide. Please take a look at the chat for understanding more about the CSM exam. Okay? Okay. Great, great. So let me quickly cross-check the poll. Have you guys entered your name on the poll? On the poll, Shamima, we won't be able to record your name if you entered it on the chat. Just a quick confirmation if you guys have entered your name on the poll. If you have, I think we're done with the session. It was great bringing this session, like I said. Remember, if you're still interested in enrolling, make sure you click on the course page that I shared. Should you reach out to a learning advisor, or if you've reached out on the poll, someone will call you. People posting their names on the chat, please use it. Please post it on the poll. The question I asked you is, have you entered your name on the poll? A quick yes or a no will help. Just a yes or a no. Have you answered the poll very quickly? Okay. Okay. So you're going to receive your certificates and the recording of the session tomorrow. Okay. Right. Do not worry if you don't receive it. And also sometimes what happens is, even if you guys have entered your name, sometimes the certificate does not reach you. And we've got a lot of learners actually reaching out to us later. So I request you to kindly make sure that Simplylearn webinars, the sender Simplylearn webinars, is not on your spam list. Remember how you registered and you got this alert about this webinar? Just ensure that it's marked important and not spam. And that's how you will receive your certificate as well. Okay. Yeah, amazing. Good to know that a lot of you have entered your name. Remember, any more questions about enrolling in the course, ask us at simplylearn.net. If you really feel like attending another webinar, you want to see Bryan talking to you guys, webinars at simplylearn.net, and then I'll direct you on how you can attend the next one. Yes, you will get an email, Amritansh, containing the certificate and the recording. Okay, right? But remember the study guide and the roadmap that I shared. Please make sure you have those links intact. Yes, you can drop now. We're done with the session. It was great bringing this session to you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Okay, thank you so much. If there's anything else that you guys want to ask before you leave, you can let me know. See the Q&A box. You don't have to enter your email address, just the name would do. Please, what if I want to enroll and I don't have, I don't know if there's a scholarship. This is the discount that we offer, anonymous. Just head to the course page, and then I think we should be, just drop your entry and we should be able to help you. Yes. Great. Thank you so much, guys. Yes, it was definitely a nice session, an interesting one as well. I hope you found the session useful, and I also hope that you join our upcoming cohort. Thank you so much, the audience on YouTube. You were great as well. Some great questions coming in today. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Have a great day.